and go. Welcome everyone to the NT Muster workshop. Thank you so much for watching and taking part in the NT Muster event. My name is Miriam Schreiner. I'm the new distribution coordinator here at Tourism NT, and I've only very recently joined the team. I'm taking over from Karen Smith, who you surely all know, and I'm very excited to be part of the team and to meet you all very soon at the Muster event. During this workshop, I will quickly give you a rundown about a few important things to remember. I'm also joined here today by Gabrielle Deacon, who will be talking about the best practice at a trade show. At the NT Muster event, we will have 5 team members join us from the Tourism NT team, which is Tony Quamby, the Executive Director Marketing, Monica Tonkin, the Director of Domestic Marketing. Then we have Alice Bowden, the Trade Marketing Manager, Gabrielle from the Trade and Distribution Development team, and myself. Currently, the registrations are still running and we're still advertising in the latest Aussie Specialist newsletter from Tourism Australia. And we also are advertising in the key trade media, and we send out quite a few EDMs to our database. So there's still a lot of marketing going on before registrations close about next week. With this, I will hand over to Gabrielle to run through the best practice for trade shows. Gabs?
Awesome. Thanks, Miriam. And thank you, everyone, again, for joining us. So when we look at trade shows, it's really divided into 3 parts. So we've got before, during, and your follow-up. So before heading to a trade show, you want to make sure you have your ducks in a row. So make sure your booking system is up to date, your website is up to date. You also want to make sure that your ATDW or Google My Business, that all that information where people can find you online is most up to date and relevant as possible. Ahead of the trade show, you want to set some goals, and we all love an acronym in tourism, so we're going to call these the SMART goals. So S standing for specific, M for measurable, A for achievable, R for realistic, and T for timely. So what this could look like to you is setting up how many businesses or how many people you want to see at the Muster Trade Show, how many new contacts you want to make, how many contacts you want to reconnect with. So these are some of the goals that you might want to think of ahead of heading to the trade show. It's also a really good idea to do your research and know where you're contracted. You should ideally know this already and ahead of time. So know where you're contracted and know where you're featured, because those questions are going to come up during the trade show. And of course, ahead of time, make sure you have all your promotional material ready. That includes business cards, because you will be asked for your business card. But if you did want to have like an item or a gift that you want to give to the guests that come along, make sure you have that promotional material ready and at the venue ready to go for the guests when they get there. Now, during the show, what you want to make sure is you arrive early at each venue. So that way you can get yourself prepared and set up ahead of time. When the guests start to arrive, if you do tend to meet someone who has sold your product, show them gratitude and say thank you for selling the product. Now, we will be giving you 8 minutes as a guidance for your pitch or presentation. Now, it's good to make sure you have an elevator pitch, and definitely make sure you have 3 USPs, otherwise known as unique selling points. These are 3 things that will separate you from everybody else. But have that conversation with the person that you're talking to as well. Allow time at the end of your conversation for them to ask questions. And if they're not asking you questions, maybe ask them some questions. That could be around, you know, have you heard of the product before? Are you coming to the destination, etc. And it's also a good idea to have an understanding of who you're talking to. For example, if you have someone from Flight Centre that comes and approaches you, you may want to ask whereabouts they work. And if they work in a store, then you know that they're a frontline travel agent. If you are contracted with Flight Centre, then you should know with that frontline travel agent, if they ask, how can I book you? Then that should be referred to book back with their wholesaler. If it's a frontline travel agent from Flight Centre and they're not contracted, or you're not contracted with them, then you can turn around to them and say what commission you offer them, and for them to call and book direct, which is usually around that 10% commission for your frontline travel agent. For anyone going through wholesale, if you do speak to domestic wholesalers, that's usually around your 20% commission. If you speak to an online travel agency like TripAdvisor or Viator, those guys will usually charge about 25%, 20 to 25% commission. And if you're chatting to anyone from the inbound market, then usually you're talking to them about 30% commission, roughly around that area. And if you are confused about this word of commission, please make sure you reach out to me, and I can go through a bit more of a deep dive as to how this whole distribution world works. And then last one is, if you do speak to someone from, say, the groups or incentives corporate market, then it's good for you to have an understanding of the net rates you work with and then how they would work with you. So after the trade show is done, no doubt you'll be exhausted, but we do have a little saying in the industry that if you're only as good as your follow-up, so there's no point in really coming unless you do your follow-up. This is really to highlight how important following up after a trade show is. So ideally, if you can get to them immediately and do your follow-up immediately, that is the best time to do it. If you do get stuck, we will be recording the email addresses of those who attend. So even if you do lose business cards, whatnot on the way, please reach out to the team, out to Miriam, and we'll help you out there. When you do your follow-up, it is important to make sure that you thank them for their time. And if you did write any notes throughout your meetings, it's always great to address those notes as much as you can. And you can potentially set up now. If you can set up ahead of time for those meetings now. Can you potentially set up a template right now for your meetings in Melbourne, for Sydney, for Brisbane? And then the last but not least is go back to those SMART goals that you created before the trade show, and just make sure that you've worked on or figured out what did work at this trade show and what opportunities you can apply for next time. So that's it from me. If you do want any further advice, please reach out, and I'm happy to catch up ahead of muster. Even if you want to practice your pitch or anything along those lines, the distribution team is always happy to help. So thank you, and back over to Miriam.
Thank you, Gabrielle. I just have a few more housekeeping topics to cover before we end this workshop. First question is always what to wear. Uniform should be please all black. So during the shows, please wear black attire. Make sure that it looks clean and professional, obviously. The exhibitors attending will receive a purple lanyard, and the ladies will receive a branded scarf in Melbourne. Make sure that you take these items along to all events. If you're only joining in Brisbane or in Sydney, you will obviously be given the scarf and lanyard on arrival at the event. Then the arrival time at the venues. For the first event in Melbourne, we have set the arrival time to 4 p.m. This should give you enough time to set up, orientate yourself before the doors open at 5:15. For Brisbane and Sydney, we have set the arrival time a little bit later to 4:30 p.m. Because by then you should probably know the lay of the land and you won't be needing as much time. Food will be provided at the events from about 5:30 onwards. We will offer canapes at the event. So if you do need something a little bit more substantial, please make sure that you eat before the event. The official start with Youth Mill as entertainment will be at about 6 p.m. which should give you enough time to mingle beforehand and to eat something before the event officially starts. At all venues, we do have gluten-free and also vegetarian options at the venues. Then the A4 banners for your tables, we have them all printed and we will be giving the table banners to you in Melbourne. Once again, please ensure that you will take those along for all events. If you're not coming to the next venue, please give the banners back to me so I can take them along and hand them over to your colleague at the next event place. It is your responsibility to take the banners or to give them back to me. So please make sure that you remember those. As many of you know from previous years, there won't be any Wi-Fi at the venues, so make sure that you don't have anything in your presentations included that requires Wi-Fi. And there will also be no power outlets at your tables, so please make sure that you charge your laptops fully before you arrive at the venues. And then last but not least, the prize cards. We have prepared prize cards with the questions that all of you have sent in. The prize cards will be given out at the arrival when the agents come in and register. And the participants will have to fill in at least 10 questions correctly out of the 27 that you have sent in. We will correct the completed prize cards after the appointments close at 8:30, and then the prize draw will commence shortly after, around about 8:40 p.m. And obviously you will receive the names and contact details of the prize winners after the muster events, and the winners will also get your contact details to get the prize. Yeah, and with this, we will end the workshop. Please let me know if you have any questions. Don't hesitate to contact me, and I'm looking forward to meeting you at the muster event. See you soon. Bye-bye.